was thinking we should get started soon. Hard to believe it's been 10 years since your daughter and son-in-law were lost here.
What were they thinking? Leaving their daughter behind and going to such a dangerous place? Are you sure you won't change your mind? Are you still determined to go back there?
It's too late to turn back now.
If you're going to make a sequel, this is how you do it. Much like last week's review of Mega Man Legends, this one is also dedicated to Cranberry, my Dragon Quest X partner in crime, as well as the loving memory of Frisco. Mega Man Legends 2 does everything right. It builds upon the success of its predecessor, adds new elements, better controls, and more modern gameplay mechanics that make this an absolute delight to play even in 2017. It's hard to believe this game was released in 2000 given how many modern touches it features. To start, all of the lovable cast of characters from the first game returned, except this time around there are many more characters introduced. The voice work has been refined, so characters don't sound quite as silly, and the narrative is just a bit more mature or dark. Instead of just hunting down some mystical treasure, now we're on a hunt for Roll's parents, as well as, well, more. The story remains lighthearted throughout the adventure, but I really appreciated the somewhat darker undertones this time around. In terms of gameplay, there have been many great improvements made. To start, the game now supports true dual analog controls, which is just amazing. It really is. And yes, you could still use the old control scheme if you want, but believe me, the game controls perfectly with dual analog controls. Outside of the controls, you now have an emphasis placed on exploration. While the first game had one massive town island that slowly unlocked to reveal new locations over time, here you can use your ship to visit massive new areas all over the place, which greatly expands both the game's length and the exciting prospect of discovering something new. You can still upgrade Mega Man, purchase goodies from item shops and more, but again, there's just more variety in what you can upgrade and a plethora of new moves available to you. This is fantastic news as it makes the gameplay more varied and allows you to play as you see fit, which I always appreciate in games like this. You can still lock onto enemies and the core mechanics work exactly as they did before. But thanks to the new control scheme, you now have the freedom to easily move around. I complained a little bit last week about the lack of a map when you were on the overworld. Well hey, look at that. There's now a map available everywhere. This makes progression much easier and helps unify this game in such a way that it just feels so much newer. Graphically, the game looks much better than the first game while retaining the same color, charm, and feeling. Dungeons can be massive here, requiring multiple playthroughs to get your hands on all the goodies. The various new environments introduced are fantastic, and cutscenes look refined. So overall, the game just screams AAA polish. So when you add all of these different elements together, you have yourself one fantastic game on the original PlayStation that holds up superbly well. There are not many of these games on the PlayStation 1 that plays so well 20 years after their release. But that's because this was such a forward-thinking game. It was very rare to have dual analog controls on action RPGs of the time, but look, as a result, today you can easily go in, play the game just like you would play a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One release, and that's amazing. Once all said and done, it pains me to say that Mega Man Legends 3 was cancelled a number of years ago by Capcom when they put the entire franchise on hiatus, and we're still waiting for confirmation on when or where this franchise is going to show up next. Thankfully, fans can always return to Mega Man Legends 2 for a taste of Mega Man action RPG greatness. This one is super easy to recommend, and you should really check it out if you own a PlayStation 3, a Vita, a PSP, or of course the original PlayStation. It's available for $10 on the PlayStation Network, and if you want an original disc, well, just be warned that you're most likely going to have to pay around $100 or so for a complete in-box copy. However, it's well worth checking out digital, guys.